You know that feeling, right? That knot in your stomach, that pounding in your chest, the voice in your head whispering, what if you fail? What if you're not good enough? Yeah, I know it too. We all do. Fear and anxiety are like unwanted house guests that overstay their welcome, and they show up every single time you're about to step outside your comfort zone. But here's the thing, those feelings, they're not the enemy, they're just signals. Signals that you're on the edge of something meaningful, something that matters. And today, I'm going to show you how to stop letting fear and anxiety run the show and start using them to fuel your courage. Because you're stronger than you think, and your dreams are waiting on the other side of that fear. So, let's go. Fear and anxiety, they don't care how successful you are, how confident you look on the outside, or how many times you've crushed it before. They sneak in when you're about to take a big leap, chase a new opportunity, or put yourself out there in a way you never have before. They make you doubt your abilities, second guess your choices, and convince you that staying safe is better than taking a risk. But here's what no one tells you. Fear and anxiety are proof that you're pushing yourself. They're the markers that you're stepping up to something that matters. So instead of resisting them or trying to make them disappear, what if you learn to work with them? Most of us spend so much time trying to avoid feeling afraid that we miss out on the power that fear actually holds. We think that being fearless means never feeling scared, but that's not true at all. Being fearless means feeling the fear and doing it anyway. It means recognizing that anxiety isn't a stop sign. It's a green light to move forward. Your brain is wired to protect you from danger, and it can't tell the difference between real threats and imagined ones. So when you're about to do something that challenges you, whether it's speaking up in a meeting, starting a new project, or sharing your story with the world, your brain sounds the alarm. Your palms sweat, your heart races, and your mind runs wild with worst-case scenarios. That's just biology doing its thing. It's not a sign to quit, it's a sign to push through. Imagine if every time you felt fear or anxiety, you didn't shrink back but leaned in instead. What if, instead of letting those feelings hold you hostage, you use them as fuel? Because the truth is, fear only has as much power as you give it. It feeds on hesitation and doubt, and the more you overthink, the stronger it gets. So you have to break the cycle. You have to take action before fear has a chance to settle in. The magic happens when you move, when you decide that fear isn't a dictator, but just an annoying passenger along for the ride. You're the one in control, and the moment you take a step forward, fear loses its grip. It's not about never feeling anxious or afraid. It's about changing how you respond to those feelings. The next time you're faced with something that scares you, don't wait to feel ready or confident. You'll be waiting forever. Instead, count down 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, and move. Make the call, hit send, speak up, take the leap. It doesn't have to be perfect. It just has to. The more you practice this, the more you'll train your brain to stop seeing fear as an obstacle and start seeing it as a cue to act. Think about the most successful, confident people you know. Do you think they never feel scared? Of course they do. The difference is that they've learned to dance with fear instead of letting it freeze them in place. They've figured out that courage isn't the absence of fear. It's taking action despite it. The secret is to reframe fear as excitement. Your body doesn't know the difference between nervous energy and enthusiasm. So when your heart's pounding and your stomach's flipping, tell yourself, I'm excited. It sounds simple, but it works. Your mind believes what you tell it, and by shifting the narrative, you change your response. Let's get real for a second. How many times have you talked yourself out of something amazing because you were too anxious or afraid to try? How many times have you watched someone else take the opportunity you wanted because you let fear win? It's not that they were braver or better prepared. They just didn't give fear a vote. You can do the same. Start small if you have to. Practice with little things. Sending an email you've been putting off, speaking up in a small group, or tackling a simple task you've been avoiding. Each time you push through, you're building your resilience. You're proving to yourself that fear doesn't have to dictate your actions. You might be thinking, but what if I fail? What if it doesn't work out? That's the fear talking, trying to convince you that staying safe is better than risking failure. But here's the thing. Failure isn't the opposite of success. It's part of it. Every mistake, every setback, every stumble is a step toward growth. It's how you learn, adapt, and get stronger. Success isn't about being perfect or fearless. It's about showing up despite the fear and being willing to look foolish or fail in the process. People who succeed aren't fearless. They're just willing to fall flat on their faces if that's what it takes to move forward. If you're waiting for fear to vanish before you take action, you'll never get started. You don't have to feel confident to be courageous. You just have to decide that your goals are more important than your comfort zone. Stop overthinking, stop analyzing every potential outcome, and start doing. Action is the antidote to fear. When you're in motion, fear has less room to breathe. You're too busy making progress to obsess over the what-ifs. The power of choice is in your hands. You can choose to give in to fear or choose to act despite it. You can choose to let anxiety keep you stuck or decide that you're stronger than your doubts. Every time you choose courage, you're training your brain to see fear differently. You're proving to yourself that you're capable of handling whatever comes your way. It's not about being fearless. It's about building a mindset that doesn't let fear dictate your choices. Your dreams, your goals, your potential, they're all waiting for you to stop holding back. Imagine looking back on your life and realizing that fear kept you from the experiences and opportunities you deserved. Don't let that be your story. Let your story be one of resilience, determination, and bold moves. Start today, right now. Feel the fear, acknowledge it, and move forward anyway. It's not easy, but it's worth it. You're stronger than your fear, and every step you take proves it. Fear is one of the most primal emotions we have. It's hardwired into our brains, designed to keep us safe from danger. But here's the problem. Most of the things we fear today aren't life-threatening. They're moments of discomfort, situations that challenge us, experiences that force us to grow. And yet, our brains react as if stepping into those situations is as dangerous as stepping into the path of a speeding car. That's why it feels so intense. Your body is literally trying to save your life, but it's doing it at the worst possible times. So if you understand that fear is just your brain's overprotective response to anything unfamiliar, you can start to take its power away. Think about a moment when you were terrified to do something, but pushed through anyway. Maybe it was giving a presentation, making a big decision, or having a difficult conversation. Remember that rush of relief and pride you felt afterward? That's the proof that fear doesn't have to stop you. It's not about eliminating fear. It's about building the habit of moving through it. Every time you choose to act in the presence of fear, you're rewiring your brain to see courage as the natural response. You're conditioning yourself to be someone who takes action, no matter how scared you feel. The reason most people stay stuck isn't that they lack talent or resources or even motivation. It's because they let fear make their decisions. They wait for the perfect moment, for the nerves to disappear, for the confidence to magically appear. But that moment never comes because confidence doesn't precede action, it follows it. Confidence is built through action. It's built through showing up scared, doing the thing anyway, and realizing you're stronger than you thought. Anxiety works the same way. It's your brain throwing out all the possible worst-case scenarios, hoping to keep you safe. But safety doesn't lead to growth, and growth is what you're here for. The trick is to stop seeing anxiety as something you need to avoid and start seeing it as something you can work with. Because when you lean into it, when you take action despite the anxiety, you prove to yourself that you can handle whatever comes your way. You gain evidence that your brain was wrong about the danger. And the more evidence you gather, the less anxiety will have control over you. One of the most powerful ways to reframe fear and anxiety is to change the language you use around them. Instead of saying, "I'm terrified," or "I'm so anxious," try saying, "I'm feeling challenged," or "I'm feeling energized." Your brain reacts to the words you choose, so choose words that empower you. When you say, "I'm excited," you're telling your brain that this surge of energy isn't a threat, it's a tool you can use. It's all about perspective, and the more you practice shifting your perspective, the easier it becomes to act even when you're scared. The truth is, everyone feels fear and anxiety. The difference between those who succeed and those who don't is how they respond to it. Some people let it paralyze them, while others use it as a stepping stone. They acknowledge the fear, but refuse to be controlled by it. They understand that fear is simply part of the process, not a barrier that should stop them. And if they can do it, so can you. You have to be willing to feel uncomfortable. Growth doesn't happen in your comfort zone. It happens when you push yourself, when you take risks, when you put yourself out there knowing you might fail. And yes, you might fail. But what if you succeed? What if pushing through the fear leads to something better than you ever imagined? You won't know unless you try. You have to train yourself to take action despite the fear. It's a skill you can develop just like anything else. The more you practice, the more natural it becomes, and the more natural it becomes, the less control fear and anxiety will have over your life. Every single time you take action, you're proving to yourself that you're capable, that you're resilient, that you're stronger than you think. Most people wait to feel ready. They wait for the fear to go away before they act. But that's not how it works. Action comes first and the courage follows. You have to be willing to take the first step, even when your hands are shaking and your heart is racing. Because if you can do it once, you can do it again and again and again until eventually what once terrifies you becomes just another thing you do. Think about the opportunities you've missed because you were too afraid to take a chance. Think about the dreams you've put on hold because you were waiting to feel ready. And now imagine what your life could look like if you stopped letting fear make your choices, if you stopped giving anxiety a vote in your decisions. Because the truth is, most of the things you're afraid of are never as bad as your mind makes them out to be. Your imagination is a master at creating worst-case scenarios. But how often do those scenarios actually come true? Almost never. And even when things don't go as planned, you survive. You adapt. You learn. That's the beauty of being human. You have the ability to grow from every experience, whether it ends in success or failure. Fear only wins if you let it. Anxiety only controls you if you allow it to. The power is yours to reclaim. The next time you feel that familiar rush of fear or that wave of anxiety, recognize it for what it is, an invitation to grow. A signal that you're about to do something meaningful, and instead of letting it stop you, let it push you forward. Let it be the spark that ignites your courage. Training your mind to see fear and anxiety as allies, not enemies. Understand that they are just emotions, temporary sensations that will pass. They don't define you, and they certainly don't have to dictate your actions. You are so much stronger than you think, and every time you choose to act despite your fear, you prove that to yourself. The more you push yourself to act despite feeling afraid, the more you build evidence that you can handle whatever comes your way. You start to see fear not as something to avoid, but as something to embrace. Because every single time you push through it, you're getting stronger, braver, and more resilient. You're proving to yourself over and over again that fear doesn't get to control your life. You do. But none of that happens if you keep waiting to feel comfortable. None of that happens if you let fear and anxiety call the shots. You have to start seeing fear as a sign you're moving in the right direction, because if you're not feeling at least a little bit scared, you're not challenging yourself enough. Growth only happens when you push beyond what you already know and what you're already good at. It's about stepping into the unknown, feeling your nerves fire up, and doing the thing anyway. It's about recognizing that courage isn't the absence of fear, it's the willingness to act in spite of it. And the more you practice this, the more natural it becomes. It's not just about big, life-changing moments. It's about the little, everyday decisions where you choose courage over comfort. It's about the times you speak up when you'd rather stay quiet, the times you take a risk when you'd rather play it safe, the times you step forward when everything inside you is telling you to stay where you are. Those small moments of bravery add up. They build your confidence bit by bit until one day you realize you're doing things you once thought were impossible. Fear and anxiety thrive in inaction. They grow stronger every time you hesitate, overthink, or choose safety over growth. The longer you sit with your fear, the bigger it becomes. But the moment you take action, you start to shrink it down. You start to take back control. And here's the thing. Every single person you admire, every single person who has achieved something meaningful has felt the exact same fear. They've felt the doubt, the anxiety, the overwhelming urge to quit before they even began. But they chose to act anyway. They chose to move forward even when their hearts were pounding and their minds were racing with all the ways things could go wrong. It's not about erasing fear. It's about building the muscle of courage, one step at a time. It's about recognizing that fear is part of the process and that you're strong enough to push through it. The more you do this, the more resilient you become. You start to see fear as nothing more than a temporary state, a passing sensation that doesn't have to dictate your choices. You realize that fear only has power over you if you let it. And the moment you decide to act despite the fear, you reclaim that power. The problem is most people let fear stop them before they even start. They overthink, they analyze, they try to plan away every single risk before taking the first step. But perfectionism is just fear dressed up in fancy clothes. It's your mind trying to trick you into thinking you're making progress when really you're just staying stuck. The real progress happens when you start taking imperfect action, when you stop waiting for the fear to go away and just move forward, even when everything inside you is screaming for you to play it safe. Fear is a feeling, it's not a fact. Just because you feel afraid doesn't mean you're not capable. Just because your mind is telling you that something is too hard or too risky doesn't make it true. Feelings are not facts. And once you understand that, you can start making choices based on what you want to achieve, not what you're afraid of. Because the truth is, most of the limitations you're dealing with aren't real. They're just stories your mind is creating to keep you from stepping outside of your comfort zone. And the moment you start questioning those stories, they start to lose their grip. You've been giving fear and anxiety way too much power. You've been letting them sit in the driver's seat when they have no business being there. They're passengers at best. Background noise you can acknowledge, but don't have to obey. It's time to stop letting them dictate your decisions. It's time to take back control. The way you do that is by taking action, even when you feel afraid. Especially when you feel afraid. And this is the answer in my favorite way, which is you self-limit, because every time you act despite the fear, you're rewiring your brain to be stronger, braver, and more resilient. You might be thinking, but what if I fail? And that's a valid question. But here's a better one. What if you succeed? What if the thing you're afraid of doing is the very thing that will change your life for the better? What if the risk is worth it? The only way to find out is to take that leap, to do the thing that scares you, to embrace the discomfort and push through it. Because when you do, you unlock a whole new level of potential. You prove to yourself that you're capable of so much more than you ever thought possible. Failure isn't the end of the road, it's part of the journey. It's proof that you're trying, that you're putting yourself out there, that you're pushing beyond what feels comfortable. And every time you fail, you gain experience, you gain knowledge, you gain resilience. Failure isn't something to be ashamed of. It's something to be proud of. It means you're taking action, and that alone puts you ahead of most people. If you want to overcome fear and anxiety, you have to stop running from them. You have to face them head on, feel them fully, and then act anyway. Because courage isn't something you're born with. It's something you build through repeated action. It's something you strengthen every single time you choose to move forward despite the fear. It's something you cultivate by deciding over and over again that your dreams are worth the discomfort. The more you practice this, the easier it gets. You start to see fear and anxiety not as enemies, but as companions on your journey. They're going to show up, but that doesn't mean you have to give them power. It doesn't mean you have to let them decide what you do and don't do. You're the one in control. You get to decide how you respond. You get to choose whether you stay stuck or whether you move forward. Every time you feel the fear and take action anyway, you're sending a message to yourself that you are capable, you are resilient, you are powerful, and you are more than capable of handling whatever comes your way. You've been strong enough to face your fears before, and you're strong enough to do it again. So here's the truth. Fear and anxiety are going to show up. They always do. But they don't get to control your life unless you let them. And I do believe that bringing life into your life, you have the power to choose courage over comfort, to take action even when your heart is racing and your mind is full of doubt. Every time you push through the fear, you're building strength. Every time you act despite the anxiety, you're proving to yourself that you're unstoppable. This isn't about never feeling scared again. It's about realizing that fear is just part of the process. It's about understanding that anxiety is just energy you can redirect. You don't need to wait until you feel ready, because you'll be waiting forever. The key is to act now, to feel the fear and move forward anyway, to keep showing up for yourself and your dreams, even when it's hard, even when it's uncomfortable. Because on the other side of that fear is everything you've ever wanted. more confidence, more freedom, more growth, more of the life you're meant to live. And the only thing standing between you and that life is your willingness to act in spite of the fear. So the next time doubt tries to hold you back, remember this: you are stronger than your fear. You are more powerful than your anxiety, and you have everything you need to rise above it. Now, go prove it.